Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today I have Margaux with First Call. And Margaux, I appreciate you taking your time to be here. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at First Call?
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. My name is Margaux Guignon, and I'm the Director of Prevention Services at First Call. And at First Call, we provide services to individuals and families that have been impacted by substance use disorder. So we have a 24/7 crisis call line. We do assessments and referrals. We have recovery advocates that work with individuals along their journey of recovery. We have family services for families that have been impacted by substance use disorder. And then we also have programming in the jails where we help individuals that are incarcerated re-enter into society. Our prevention department is a prevention resource center through the Missouri Department of Mental Health. And we cover 4 counties in Missouri: Jackson, Cass, Lafayette, and Johnson counties. And what that means is we provide assistance and support to anyone in our service area, including education, trainings, providing resources, working with registered coalitions throughout the area to prevent substance use and spread awareness of mental health, suicide, bullying, and violence. So we're happy to connect with anyone in our service area and bring them programming and information.
Great. And before we get started on what we're going to talk about, just a little PSA for if y'all are out there listening and you don't necessarily know our network. There's a regional support center. There's 10 of them around the state. And if you're interested, if there's one in your area, you can look at Department of Mental Health's website. They're all listed there. So give them a Google. Today, we're going to talk about asset building. And you and I have trained this many times, which it's a great training. It's one of my favorite ones to do. So adults are often natural asset builders, but tell us a little bit about what an asset builder is.
So if I was going to explain what an asset builder is, the first thing that comes to mind is, number one, is being a trusted adult. So being an adult in a child's life that they can come to and that they trust with personal things. They can talk to about things that are going on in their life, whether it be with their family, at school, with friends, etc. So being able to talk to them about that, but also like an asset builder gives back in a way too. So an asset builder is not only being a trusted adult and someone that listens, but also builds on a child's strengths, helps them improve and increase on their strengths. Doesn't focus on challenges, but really like is an asset in their lives. Like maybe attends football games, maybe calls and sees how they're doing after school, maybe helps them with their homework, maybe teaches them new skills, etc. So they're supporting them in every way of life. So not only being someone that they can rely on for trust and being able to vent to, but also they contribute to the child's life in other ways where they're building on skills, building on relationships, and then helping them improve in different areas of their life, but also teaching the child what they're already good at, because we know that students already struggle. They don't want to boost themselves up. They struggle with self-esteem. I mean, like it's just natural for middle school, high school, even elementary kids to think that others are better than them. So an asset builder shows them, hey, you have these skills, you can do this, and empowers them to make their own choices, make their own decisions, and really advocates for them to make change in their life if they want change to happen.
So why is it important for a youth to have these outside folks that they have relationships with and or maybe they're asset builders? Why is it important to go out of their little nucleus of their family and have other caring adults in their life?
Well, number one is I always say that like it's really important for a child to have a trusted adult in their life. It's one of the number one protective factors, which I'll get into in a second. But and I always tell people when I'm training, like it's really powerful for a kid to have at least one trusted adult in their life. And I always have to remind parents that like, hey, that might not be you, and that's okay. Because it's really important for kids to have external relationships too. Number one, like maybe they think that it should be their parent, but their parent works or they're not at home. They want to be there, but a child needs other role models in their life as well. while that might be hard for some parents to hear, it's so important. Think back to when you were a child, think back to who your role models were, think back to who made you the person you are today. And maybe your mom or dad comes to mind, but there's probably other people that come to mind too, like a coach, like a teacher, like a caseworker, a therapist, the neighbor, the bus driver. Anyone can be that person. It's also important for kids to know that like other adults recognize their strengths and accomplishments. It's not just their parents. It's really, really important. Think about, again, back to when you were a child, like if your parent told you they were proud of you, like, okay, great, my parent should be proud of me. But if someone else said it, if someone else pointed out how good you did at that soccer game or how proud they were of that test score, whatever it may be, it means something different when they hear it from someone else, and when they have someone outside of the family that they can rely on and that's supporting them, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a little bit about protective factors. And so part of the model is risk and protective factors. Can you explain that briefly?
Yes. So every person has risk and protective factors in their life. And basically, risk factors are things that contribute to negative things in someone's life, unfortunately. So like the more risk factors a child has, the more likely they are to develop a mental health problem in the future. And I say problem because it may not be a disorder, but it could be a crisis or just some issues that they struggle with later in the future. And the more risk factors someone has, like I said, the more likely they are to have those problems in the future. However, protective factors do the opposite. So the more protective factors that a kid has, the less likely they are to develop mental health problems in the future. Now, with that being said, we can't necessarily say that just because a kid has a bunch of protective factors, they're not going to have any problems, because that's not true. They're just less likely than someone that has a bunch of risk factors. Now, on that note, we also can't say that just because a child has a bunch of risk factors that they're going to for sure have problems in the future. We just know that these factors do contribute to whether or not a child will have problems in the future. So some examples of those, some protective factors include, like I said, being close to at least one adult, having a consistent family and home routine, healthy practices like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, like getting a healthy or a good night's sleep. Like those are all protective factors. Having good friends, a good support system. Economic security is a really big one as well. Not having to worry about like if the lights are going to be on when they get home or when their next meal is. Those types of things are protective factors. So they're very simple things, and it's just those positive things that really like take stress away from a kid. And then risk factors would be like being exposed to substance use, not having a consistent family routine at home, not having economic security at home. So like the opposite of basically what I'm saying, protective factors. But the number one or the most powerful risk factor is trauma. And if a child is exposed to trauma, we know that it is correlated with mental health problems in the future, and other issues. Like now there's studies coming out that like if children are exposed to trauma early, it could lead to like physical health issues in the future. It's not just mental health. So trauma, and we have to keep in mind that like everyone experiences trauma differently. So what might be traumatic for one child isn't traumatic for another. And just because something's traumatic for you doesn't mean it's traumatic for them. But we do have to understand that we all experience it differently. And like currently something that like we're talking about a lot right now is like that the global situation right now is traumatic, not only for children, but for adults too. Like, and you think of it as like, yes, there's a pandemic going on, but also remembering that like kids weren't in school for 4 months that they were supposed to be in school. And like those daily interactions that they had with other kids went away. And that can be traumatic when you think about kids that like rely on their asset builders at school, like their coach or their bus driver or their teacher. They weren't getting that interaction, and that can be traumatic as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that, because on Tuesday, I'm talking to a trauma expert, if you will. And so we're going to do another chat about that. So that was a great commercial for me. So if folks want to check out First Call, do you have like a website or something like that where they can go?
Yes. So if you're interested in learning more about First Call or getting in touch with us, you can just go to our website. It's firstcallkc.org. First is spelled out. And like every staff member's contact information is on there. Our all of our services information, so family services, prevention services, etc. And you can get in touch with us on the website. We're also on Facebook. So please reach out if you're interested in learning more.
Awesome. And the other thing I was going to say, oh yes, I will drop in the comments after we are done information on the Search Institute and the 40 developmental assets. So if y'all are interested in that, then you can look at that. But thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate having you and seeing your face because I haven't seen you in forever. So
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.